Welcome to Joe's Crow Reef. Today we're going out to pick up some Berghia Nudibranchs to eat Aiptasia. Right, my one tank's full of Aiptasia. We're gonna go pick up some nudibranchs. Let's check it out. We're on our way. Put them in the tank. So what's up? We've picked up the nudibranchs here. We're gonna get ready to put them in the tank. So just a little history. I've done this 2 times before, and they do eat a lot of Aiptasia, but sometimes there'll be a little piece of Aiptasia here or there hiding in the background that they don't get to, and they wind up coming back. And for some reason in my tank, I'll show you some close-ups, the Aiptasia go wild. They really do. And I get some big ones. I've got some that look like they're the size of anemones. I mean, like bubble tip anemones. They're pretty big. Maybe not that big, but they're pretty big. But so we'll put these in there. Let's acclimate them. I'm going to check the salinity of this water versus my tank. Kind of adjust it that way, and then we'll put them in there. And I want to group them together because I want them to lay eggs, and I don't want the fish to get to them, so I've got to find a good area where I can put them. So here's the container with the Berghia Nudibranchs. You'll notice they're really pale and white. They do have an opalescent color to them, but they're very white. And once they start eating, they will get a little darker. I bought them from a local hobbyist, and the problem she had with them is she couldn't feed them enough. She tried buying rocks from people. They went through their tank and ate everything. And they breed, I think their incubation period for breeding is every 14 days. So, you know, they're breeding and they're eating Aiptasia, and it just it's tough to keep up with. So I was just checking the salinity of them. I don't know what they do, if this is their mating ritual, but I've observed this in the tank too. It looks like they're just kissing. When I first got them, I thought she only gave me 2, and I bought 3, but I didn't realize those 2 are just kind of cuddled together, which was kind of weird. So we'll put them in the tank. Just kind of float them for 15 minutes. And then what I do this for fish, sometimes coral. I don't really drip acclimate anything. I put a half a cup of water in there every 4 minutes until the salinity matches, and then I dump them in. So look at the size of those Aiptasia. They are huge, and then they're all over the back wall. They're everywhere. And what's interesting is I bought these Berghias just last year, and it looked like it wiped out the entire tank. And then I seen 1 Aiptasia, 2 Aiptasia, and then they just explode. I know some people say, you know, if you don't touch them, they won't explode. But man, that is not what I've seen with this variation of Aiptasia that I have. So here's this tangerine lepo I have. He's pretty cool. He's trying to branch over this rock. Of course, it's filled with Aiptasia. I've got 1 mushroom in the tank, and then these are some of the frags from underneath that I've fragged recently. You can see the Aiptasia all over the branches. You know, I constantly have to keep up fragging this Frogspawn because it grows like a tree, and what I've noticed is the Frogspawn that's on the underside, it just does not get a lot of light. The ones on the sand bed will do okay. It's about 50 to 100 par on the sand bed, but the ones on the underside, they turn really pale. You can see this one in the middle here, this white one. You can kind of tell how he's a little more translucent, less of an intense green than the other ones. So he's coloring up. It's probably been about 3 weeks since he's been up there under that light. And they eventually do color up, and that neon green darkens a little bit, and then they have a very pink tip. And depending on where the Kessel's set during the day, because I got it ramping up and ramping down, you know, towards the end of the night when just the blues come on, the glow from the pink and the green is really amazing. It just, the whole tank, it's just like a large neon sign. So here's some acans I tried growing. It's kind of a bummer because those orange ones in the back, you know, they were really small when I got them, and it was a tiny little colony, and they've grown up, and look at, they've plumped, they're big. And then the Frogspawn, I didn't think it was that close, but it actually killed a bunch of them on the side. So I've actually got a big pile of rock rubble in there, trying to hold off the frog spawn, and I'm running out of places to put them. So I'm going to have to do some more fragging. There's my red-eye enchanta, and look at there's somehow Aiptasia got right in the middle of it. I can't believe that, because the enchanta's got stingers. I can't believe it hasn't killed the Aiptasia. There's my other red acan who's just surrounded by frog spawn. So I've acclimated them. Now to get them into the tank, what you do is just blow them a little bit, right? They pop loose. They don't have a strong grip. They're just tiny little slugs. And then just suck them up and place them into the tank. I probably should have placed them on the rock work, but I really wanted them to go to work on this back wall. So I very gently placed them on the back wall. I had no flow in the tank. I'll tell you, the first time I did this, one of them just got sucked into the overflow. It was in the back, and I had to break them loose and then put them back in the tank. So here's all three of them. And I believe they're nocturnal creatures, but these guys went right to work. They had one mission, and it was to eat Aiptasia. And I noticed the next day, they actually cleaned off quite a bit of the little ones back there. Here's a top view of the tank. So it's 34 gallons. It's about 22 inches wide, and it really is packed rim to rim with the frog spawn. You can see the pink tips on it. For the flow, I'm using a Tunzine 6040, and I've got it set on a pulse mode. And I think in this tank, it works perfectly. You can see the frog spawn. It moves. It's not strong enough to hold it to one side. It's just kind of waving back and forth as the Tunzine pulses. So my clownfish will go around to all these little frags on the bottom, and she will host each one. She'll spend a little time here, spend a little time there. She has one specific spot she sleeps at night, and then another spot she's normally at during the day. But if she's not in those two spots, she's going around the tank hosting all the little pieces of frog spawn, which is kind of funny. You know, I know they have a coating on them, but I do notice, you know, she'll once in a while she'll have a little white on her, and I think it's if she gets too into it and she's just rubbing up and down on the frog spawn, I think it does have a little reaction to her skin. But she's been in there a long time. I've owned this colony 8 years. It started with a little frag under metal highlights. It didn't do this good. Since it's been under the Kessels, it's been just crazy growth. I mean, I just can't keep up with it. Last year I fragged over half of it, and it's just grown back. So normally what I do when I frag them, I've got videos on it, is I clip them down the branch, and then I just glue them to rockwork. I've only had one instance where I cut it kind of a little too close, and the actual branch just split in half. See, there's the clown. She's going crazy now. Once in a while, she'll break off a little piece of that frog spawn. You'll see it floating around in the tank. She gets just a little too excited. So basically, that's the acclimation process that I used for these Berghias. So now, let's take a look at them once they're in the tank. You know, it's interesting. When they lay their eggs, it's a spiral. It's just this little, it looks like a Cinnabon, and they lay them right onto the substrate. And then when they hatch, they're so tiny. They're like the size of copepods, but you barely notice them. And then before you know it, you're like, hey, that little thing's moving. And then a couple days later, they're a little bigger, and then they're a little bigger. And then before you notice, they're all over the place. They're going to have to, from my understanding, sometimes they team up and hunt, because I've got some big Aiptasia, so they're going to need a good-sized hunting party to take down some of those. It should be interesting to see, especially that one that I showed you in the beginning, how they attack that. Hopefully I can catch that in some footage. And I thought it would take them a while to breed. I really didn't think that they would breed so quickly, but it was literally a day and a half later, I went downstairs and I seen eggs. I couldn't believe it. You can actually see the color here. Notice it's not so white. It has a little bit of a brown tint to it. So this is a day later, so this was after they've been eating. And I didn't realize it. He's kind of curled up here, And what he's doing, he's actually laying an egg sac, or she, or... And then I came down the next day, so this was 2 days after I put him in the tank, or a day and a half, and I caught them. It just looks like they're making out. I mean, they were all over each other, just kissing away. And you can see in the background, see the egg sac? I don't know if they just laid that or they're trying to make another one, but it was really interesting. They do this for a long time. I caught a lot of pictures. So I whipped out the camera and I took some macro shots of them. And you can almost see, when you look really close, they've got these tiny little yellow eyes and these horns, these weird horns that come off the top of them. You notice they're not bright white anymore, so they're that darker gray color. They're just kissing away. Get a room, you two. Jeez. Probably like, what a pervert recording us. So here they are. If you look really close, you can kind of see their little eyes. Just really cool. The coloration's changed quite a bit. So, thanks for tuning in. Joe's Coral Reef. Stay tuned for more episodes. Then we'll keep you up to date on how these Berghias chomp up all the Aiptasia. Peace. I'm out.